Hello, Flosstube. I cannot believe that it's episode number 10. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joanne, the Story Stitcher, and today is another cross-stitching update. If you're a subscriber, thank you for coming back and joining me again. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy hanging out with me today. And whether you've been here before or you're new, I hope we find something new that we have in common. And I have a feeling that we will. I have a couple of WIPs to show you today, along with a few new starts for spring and a little surprise to show you. Plus, we're going to do a little bit of fabric haul from an estate sale. I have a whole drawer sitting next to me of fabric that my dad got me at an estate sale. I've been mentioning over my last few videos about all this great haul, and so we're going to look at the fabric today. I've got a little drink here, and I hope you have something nice to sip on, something even better to stitch on, and we're gonna dive right in. The first thing that I must say is thank you. This channel has reached 3,000 subscribers, which feels amazing. It feels incredible. I cannot believe that I started, I believe, August of last year with 0 views, 0 subscribers, barely even knowing how to cross stitch, and here we are today, and you all have warmed my heart. You've made this a special and incredible experience, and I am thrilled to get to be part of this community, to watch your floss tubes, to follow people's stitching updates and seeing posts and hashtags and all the things that I didn't even know existed a year ago. This wonderful world of not only cross stitch, but floss tube. So thank you for having me. I'm so excited that we hit 3K, and hopefully we'll get to celebrate with a giveaway soon. So I'm cooking up some ideas, and let's dive into the WIPs. The first one goes along with the special announcement that I have for you. So I have it here. In my last video, I talked about Jane Austen. I talked about Stitch Jane 2025. If you would like to join in the stitch along, you can check out that video for more details, or just tune in here because we're going to talk a little bit about it as I show you this WIP. And it is that if you would like to stitch a Jane Austen inspired piece for the year 2025, to please join us. One of the reasons why I am stitching a Jane Austen piece, I have to tell you my little secret that I have been sitting on. I've been telling you over the last few episodes that I have been working on a book. I've been working on a book for about a year. For those of you who don't know me, I'm an author, and I finished that book, and we got to reveal the cover this week on my newsletter, and all the bookish, throughout the bookish community, got to reveal that cover, and I would love to show it to you today because it has to do with Jane Austen, and it is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in Appalachia. And I'll put the cover here so you can see it. It's called The Heart of Bennet Hollow, and I'm so overjoyed about it. It's inspirational romance, so it's historical fiction, and if you like Jane Austen, if you like inspirational reads or clean reads or sweet romance, you name it, this book is coming this fall from my publisher. So the cover is so beautiful. It was absolutely delightful to get to share it and post it, and I get to share it with you today. And I'm gonna see, I've never done this before, if I can drop a little QR code right here, so that way you can, I know some of you are watching it on maybe an iPad or a television. If you want to scan that and read the description, it will take you to Amazon. So it is available for pre-order, and I have a little pre-order gift as well. So if anybody who pre-orders it between now and then, there's no anytime, I have a little gift for you down below, and it's a PDF download called Tea with Joanne and Jane, and it's a little just whimsical thing that you can read on your iPad or your computer that has some recipes, has some character profiles, and an interview that I did with Jane Austen. I call it an interview. It's a pretend interview, but I got to use her own words from her letters that she wrote to her sister Cassandra, and it was amazing. It was so much fun. So I'm just tickled to get to share with you that little update, and to get to celebrate here with you. I know so many of you have been incredibly encouraging. A lot of you have shared with me that you've read one of my books or have enjoyed one of my books, and it blesses me to absolutely no end. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And let me show you my Jane Austen piece. Part of the celebration is that 2025 is the year of Jane Austen's 250th birthday. And so first I'm going to pick up my project bag, and then I'm going to show you what I have. I am working on a lovely pattern by Plum Samplers called 100 Ways. And super adorable quote by Jane Austen and the lovely little couple there. I think they're so cute. They're passing a wreath, as one does when one falls in love. One passes the wreath to thy neighbor, especially if he is dashing and he is wearing such a fine coat. That's 100 Ways. That is what I'm working on, just in honor of Jane this year. And I'll show you my progress. This is what I have. It's coming along nicely. Lots of block stitching in here. And I am doing this on 25 count Lugana in the color Vintage Smoky White. And I really love this fabric. You can see the modeling there. I know a lot of you have used this. It's nothing new, but I absolutely love this fabric. This is the second project that I've done on this. And I really enjoy that it's a white fabric. It's an excellent neutral, but it has a little bit of character, which I think is charming. And since the demo is stitched on that pure white, I almost did the pure white, but since there's going to be some stitching on the houses here, there will be white stitching on the houses. I thought it might help break it up a little bit to do this fabric. And I'm using the called fors, a lot of Weeks Dye Works with a few of the called for DMCs as well. So those little green, the little green stems are DMC. And then of course the pinks and the rooftops, as you can tell, are beautiful Weeks Dye Works. And so I'm kind of mixing and matching using those weeks where I think it's really going to show and really going to shine. And it's just been lovely, absolutely lovely. So I left off here on the corner over there, and I'm going to keep going with it, stitching this 2 over 2. And I did mention to you my appreciation these days for 25 count. So you'll see, nope, this is the only one. This is only 25 count, but really enjoying this. So if you would like to join in the stitch along, if you're a Jane Austen fan and you would enjoy stitching something for her birthday, a lot of you already are. I've gotten so many comments in my last video of those of you who are joining in, and I've seen your tags on Instagram. So I'm keeping an eye on that hashtag on Instagram, whether you're there or not, don't worry. And I'm trying to make sure that I give a heart to all the pictures that are popping up there, and it's really, really fun to see the progress. So feel free to join in anytime if you'd like. It does not have to be a specific Jane Austen pattern. I know a lot of you have had some in your stash or some that you're gonna grab. I grabbed this one just for this especially, but if you have something that speaks to you that might harken back to Jane's world, it could be a picnic, it could be anything I mentioned last time, a meadow or a teacup, anything that speaks to you and that you enjoy in your stash that you feel like, I think that might be my Jane Austen piece for the year. Please pull it out. Please join us. Whether or not you use the hashtag, you can just let me know in the comments or anywhere you'd like that you're working on it. And some of you have tagged me on Instagram. I am Joanne Bischoff DeWitt on Instagram and Facebook. I have a Facebook page, so you can find me in either of those places. And if you do tag me, I would love to see your progress. And I have such a fond affection for Jane Austen, as you can tell, so I won't carry on, but it does this writer's heart good and this old soul good to know that we get to celebrate her all the time. And I am absolutely loving this piece. Let me show you the floss. Really pretty colors. I don't have my table today, so everything is balancing in my lap. Super duper pretty colors. Mostly those weeks. Lots of pinks. And as I mentioned last time, I did make these floss straps out of paper that I thought would look like maybe a Jane Austen novel. And it was really fun. Just got the labels there on the back. I tend to get these rings at the Dollar Tree. I don't know if any of you like to duck into the Dollar Tree and find things, but I have found the rings and they have so much craft supplies these days. So I like to poke in there, see what I can find often. All right, we're gonna put Jane away. and talk about more WIPs. Do you have a focus piece for 2025? Is there a piece that when you think of it, when you work on it, you think this is the piece that I want to work on for 2025? Do you have one? I'll admit, I don't have many large projects that say I must get this done in 2025. I know I have some that I want to get done in 2025. I just started in 2024, so I don't exactly have the biggest WIP pile. But I would say for right now, I have a focus piece that I'm going to show you. It is one of the very first projects that I worked on during my first month of cross stitch. And I have a couple of pieces, actually all of the pieces behind me, including that little guy right there, are all from my first month of cross stitch. And it's fun to make progress, and soon I'll have more things to display as I finish more projects. And so I need to get a couple of things framed, of course. But so right now I am working on True Love Sampler. I don't quite know the difference between a sampler and a Quaker. Let me know if you have thoughts. From what I understand, a Quaker has these somewhat geometric patterns repeated within them. And I feel like that's what qualifies as a Quaker. But then I think sampler qualifies if it has the alphabet. Let me know. That could be very, very misguided. This happens, I don't know if you can see it, but it does happen to have some numbers, 1, 3, 4, and so on. So it does have some numbers in there. That could be why it's considered a sampler. I would love to know the difference and what you would define as sampler and Quaker, and if they're interchangeable. So this is by the company Happy Mood Point. It's on Etsy. I did see this same design by another designer on Etsy. And that sort of, I wasn't sure what I thought about that. So I hope I have the original designer. If I don't, I apologize. I know sometimes that happens where things kind of wander through the online world as people, maybe reproduce things. But I'm hoping that's the original. If not, let me know. Happy Mood Point. I'm giving you credit so far. And here's what I've got. I'm doing it on 14 count Aida. Again, because this was my very first month of cross stitching. And there's what we have. I have taped the edges just so they don't fray. I am really enjoying this piece. In my first go at this, way back in August, I had done this section. I had done this and this, I think in my very first floss tube, somewhere around here. And then I headed this way. And then I set it aside for a little while to do fall stitching, to do Christmas stitching, all of that good stuff. And then I really wanted to work on this for February, since it's the month of love and the month of romance, and since it is the True Love Sampler. I worked my way over here with these pretty designs and the little hearts. I loved these little floating heart vines. I don't know what to call them, but they were really fun and whimsical, and got to do the birds, the key, and of course, True Love. Again, this is just a piece of white 14 count Aida, stitching it 2 over 2, of course. And since it was one of my first projects, I decided that I didn't use the called fors. I'm more just matching the called fors. So I'm trying to make mine look exactly like the image using what I had in my stash, which is why I had picked it in the first place. As a new stitcher, I had just a handful of colors, and this one, I felt like I could match it pretty well because I noticed that I had these in my stash. So that's been enjoyable. The one variation that I have made is, as you can see, that red, the red of those hearts, and then the red on those bottom berries. I think I added the red. It was a slightly different tone. These berries down here were supposed to be kind of a greenish gray, and that bird above it was supposed to be greenish gray. And I just felt like I wanted it to be more colorful. So I swapped in this very, very deep red. I don't know if I have the color written down. Just felt like it lended a richness, a very richness, and it balanced out some of the lighter, softer tones. In that blue heart in the center, there is a mistake. That was, again, from my very, very beginning start. I counted wrong, as you might imagine. And that heart is not as wide as it's supposed to be. And so these little birds, if you want a little chuckle, I'm going to try and insert a screenshot of what those birds are supposed to look like. And then I'm going to show you what they actually look like. They look like little ducklings. Look at their legs. Those are my birds because I ran out of space and knew Joanne was not going to frog that. She was just going to go for it. And I don't mind. Also, that flower is completely different on top. So this is a little more congested, which has meant as I've continued in cross stitching and learning that everything's going to have to balance out, I did have to make a few intentional adjustments in this area. That key's a little bit shorter just because everything sort of fell where it landed. And I'm okay with that. This is the beauty of something like this, is it's my practice sampler of learning all the things I need to learn about counting and how to progress. So I have been enjoying this so much, and I'm definitely going to be stitching more on this. Again, I would like to get a finish on this one soon. That is my hope. What do you think? Do you think I can do it? I think I can. And just like last time you saw me, I had turned Little Women into my focus piece. I'm doing the same here, where I would like to get a finish, because by getting finishes, not only is there something to display, but I get to complete things and really grow. And of course, start new WIPs, which I have a few sitting next to me to show you. Let's take a little refreshing break. Oh, that's good. I love these little poppy sodas. I get them at Aldi's or Stater Brothers. I live in California. Those are our grocery stores. All right, let's take a look at, I'm going to show you a small. I know it's weird to have a start on a small because, you know, Joanne, why can't you just finish a small? But I didn't. And so I have a little small here, and it is a pattern from a magazine. And I did that thing that I do where I print it out, and I actually have the name. It's called Bunnies and Daffodils. I'll pop it up there so you can see it. Bunnies and Daffodils by, I am trying to read that font right there, and I'm afraid I can't. By Maja. I'm just going to put the name up there because I cannot see that name. I apologize. But I'll put the name on the screen, and it's of the Snowflower Diaries. That is where this pattern has come from. And of course, my fabric, I like to keep my sticker handy. It is a 28 count even weave in the color Wren. It's a Lugana. But I want to show you something about this fabric as I show you my little start here. So here is what I have. I think it's turning out very cute and has been delightful to work on. I love the color of this Wren. I'm discovering colors, of course, and designers as I go. This is the first house that I've ever stitched. I don't think I've stitched, oh no, I stitched a house on that sampler. This is the second house I've stitched, but I've been wanting to stitch more houses. I know people either have a love-hate relationship with houses, and I'm gonna find out what I think about them, of course, as well. So there's that cute little bunny. I need to put in her little face, and of course she's gonna be talking to a friend. What caught my eye with this piece were these daffodils. In the town where I used to live, the whole town in the spring was covered in daffodils, and it was in the mountains, so it snowed. And when the snow would melt and the ground would be soft again and the sun would start to come out, daffodils would emerge in everybody's yard, all around. And of course, I had many daffodils as well. And so I missed that a little bit. And this reminds me of that. However, I still have some of those daffodils. They're growing in a barrel outside of my window of my little daffodils that I did save and took with me. That's the wonderful thing about bulbs, right? Is that we can replant them, dig them up, take them with us. And they're very, very special. And do you have daffodils or any bulbs in your yard? I'd love to know if you have a favorite. My favorite are all kinds of these. I have all different sizes. And I love crocus and hyacinth. And iris, I'll stop, but I love them. Tulips, you name it. I love bulbs. So this just feels like spring. When I see it, I can smell the sweetness. I can smell the sweetness of those daffodils. And I'm eager to keep finishing on this. I might try to finish it between here and there in my next Flosstube. We'll see what happens. But just loving this one. And again, I'm doing the same thing where I am matching from what I have in my stash. I did pull the called fors. As I told you in my recent videos, I got this amazing DMC, almost full collection, full set. And so I was able to pull the called fors, but when I laid them on the fabric, I didn't love all of the colors. So I just made some changes. I changed the daffodils. I'm pretty sure I changed her dress. And I think I even changed the color of the first rabbit just to blend a little nicer with this Wren fabric. But something that I have noticed is that this is a 28 count, which has been my safe spot. And this 28 count is kicking my booty. It's like not easy to see. I don't know if you can tell. It's a very closed weave. And so I'm actually having to use my magnifier to stitch on this. If I'm by a sunny window or if it's a beautiful day and I'm outside, I'm fine. But in just normal lighting, I don't want to make a mistake. And so I am using my magnifier. So I'm a little bit bummed out about that because I'm trying to only use that when I really need to, when the project really calls for it, because I just feel a little bit more trapped to wherever I'm sitting and always having to lug it around and set it up and such. So, but that's okay. It works. I'm glad that I have it and it's helping me get this done and helping me make good progress on it. Really fun. I will show you the two colors that I pulled for the daffodils because again, they're different than the called fors. I pulled 745 and let's see here. What is this little guy? 3854. These are my daffodil colors. And again, I think they're different than the pattern. So it was really fun to play around with what I liked the most. And I think I'm doing that more often. There's obviously using the called fors is my top choice, but if I have something, I just want to stitch it, I'm learning that it's okay to color match. It's okay. As I try to remind myself, we don't put the pattern on the wall, we put the project on the wall. Unless you're me and you haven't put anything on the wall. But we're getting there. And one more WIP. It has just been a lovely time of cross-stitching through the seasons. I worked on fall patterns, worked on Christmas patterns, and now I am in spring patterns and I am really, really enjoying it. So now my focus is working on some spring patterns that I'm showing you. I have one more, and summer things. And I have a couple other projects that I want to start while also finishing some current projects. And then my focus is to head into July having done at least one patriotic piece or having started one patriotic piece. I've got my eye on a couple that you'll see soon, hopefully. And then do Christmas in July. Do you do Christmas in July? I'd love to hear. I'm very eager to do Christmas in July and pull out my Santa and a couple other projects and do some of that, especially here in California when it is well over 100 degrees in the summer with absolutely no rain. It's just scorching. And to think about closing the curtains and sitting next to the AC and pretending like it's December and cross-stitching on Santa sounds very therapeutic. So that's where I'm heading. And then I think from there, once Christmas in July is over, I would like to maybe start early on autumn stitching and even more Christmas stitching. So that's my tentative plan. I don't have it all figured out. Of course, it'll change, but there's a little idea of where I would like to go. Now, the final WIP is in this project bag. I'm going to show you where I got the pattern from. I got this book at a thrift store. You're probably familiar, if you've been stitching for a while, you're probably familiar with this designer, Alma Lynne. and the book is called Country Cross Stitch. I'm focused on the fact that I'm trying to hide the fact that I used a napkin as a bookmark, and I'm so focused on hiding it that I can't talk. I used a napkin as a bookmark. I'm just going to tell you, I'm sure you all understand. I know we all can use odd things to mark our page. Very cute, very 90s. This is not the one I'm stitching. I'm going to show you what I'm stitching, but of course, reminiscent of that era. Adorable. So there's a couple in here that I do want to work on. And look how fun. This is still in there. Brand spanking new. From who knows what year. 1990 something, I think. Should we address it? 1990 and stick it in the mail? I would feel terrible because I don't know if this would get me my 1995 book with my $5 savings, and I don't know if I have any checks at the moment, but that'd be kind of fun. So there's that, and I see the price, I paid $8 for this book. It's penciled there in the corner. I have a nearby thrift store, used bookstore, that has a little cross stitch section. So sometimes I like to pick something out, and when I donate books, you get store credit. So I donate books, and then I get store credit, and then I come away with cross-stitching books. But let me show you the one I have picked out. It is called Country Kitchen. There's the page, and here is the pattern. Isn't that sweet? I think this is the reason I bought the book. Again, there's a few other that I like, but when I saw this little sampler with its border and its alphabet and those tiny little pies, and each of them have 5 blueberries, and there's a basket of eggs in the middle, I had to have this book, and this is what I started. I will tell you I have a very small start, so I'm going to prepare your expectations now. However, I'm going to read you this cute little quote. It says, "Cookies, brownies, apple pies, country kitchens, family ties, know we all of happy days. Help us, Lord, to count the ways." And I just thought it was precious. And I want to put that in my kitchen. Now, the challenge for me with this one began with trying to find some fabric. You're going to maybe get a little giggle out of my fabric that I'm going to show you, because it's not that fabric. And it's a little bit wonky because I'm just going to show you it's a fragment. It's a little fragment that I got from my fabric haul. So this is not the perfect piece of fabric, but it's going to work. And let's change the narrative. I have found the perfect project for this little piece of fabric. And this is my start. Very small start. I just spent an evening and, an hour or so the next day working on the border. This is a fiddler's cloth in 18 count. And of course I'm doing it 2/2. And I'm doing the same thing that I had mentioned where I am doing my own color matching. Again, where I pulled the floss and I wanted to change the effect just a little bit to work with this fabric. The reason why I pulled this little guy, this little scrap, is because I really liked that it had these cooler tones. And I noticed that all the fabrics in my stash are warm toned. Orangey colors, things that I've coffee dyed or stained in a different way. They were just more orangey. And I wanted those little pies up there to really pop without having to change those colors. And so this was the closest that I had to a gray. And I think it's going to work nicely because when I held up those warmer tones of the little pies, I think they look nice. So that's my start on Country Kitchen. I'm doing it in a Q-snap. It barely fits in the Q-snap. And fortunately, I'm absolutely at the end. So this is going to come straight down. And I think we're going to be good. It'll be a teeny little frame, maybe a pillow finish. I'm not sure. But this is one that I really want to be working on. And I actually wanted to work on this one a little bit more. But then I ran out of time and I wanted to film a floss tube. So this is the progress. But progress is progress, right? And that is Country Kitchen. And this is a super sweet book. I while I have it out, maybe I'll show you another pattern. Here's another one. This is where my napkin's sitting. This is Land of My Birth, this lovely little patriotic one. It says America, land of my birth, and then a spot for your name and birthday. And I think that is really sweet. And then another patriotic one that I like is, let's see if I can do it without showing you the pattern. There's this little set here. They're both very, very cute. I really love that tulip though. That's another one that kind of caught my eye. So lots of half stitches, but that's okay. And there's more to explore here. So I'll show you more in this as time goes by. Maybe at Christmas time, there's some really pretty Christmas patterns in here. So that is my start that has maybe the most summery vibe. I'd love to finish it in summer, and I don't think it will be hard. It's smaller than I expected it to be, which is grand. Are you ready for some fabric haul? That is where I got this. Is there it is. So $3.99. This has been around for a little while, so it's been in storage for a bit when my dad got it at that estate sale. And I thought it was going to be more, of course, when I unwrapped it, and I thought, oh, it's just a little sprite of a piece of fabric, and that's okay because I found the perfect pattern. But let's see if I can pull out this drawer without knocking some things over. Okay. I will show you the drawer of fabric, and I have mentioned the lady where all this stuff came from. And I want to give you her name. Her name was written down somewhere, and my mom has a beautiful piece of hers that I'd like to show you. But before I show you the fabric haul, and I've already given you a rundown on all those amazing DMC, I wanted to show you a little bit of her stitching, which I thought would be meaningful. And I did pull this out of a scroll frame because I was trying to use the scroll frame, which I'm going to need your help with because I couldn't figure out how to do the scroll frame. But as I mentioned in my last video, and a lot of you encouraged me in the comments, is that there was a little bit of mental block to use the items of someone else and just, you know, take her piece out of a scroll frame or dig through her DMC and start stitching with it. And you all encouraged me that it's the right thing to do. That's what you would want and that's what you would do. And so that just gave me even more courage to finally adopt even more of the items that I've been looking at and a little bit unsure about embracing and making mine and getting to use and enjoy. So as I am learning how to use the scroll frame, I did want to show you what was in the scroll frame. This is you'll all know better than I am, but this is than I would. It's not quite perforated paper, but it's almost like perforated paper, but it's a little thicker, a little more sturdy. And she did a lot of specialty stitches. Isn't that beautiful? And of course there was lots of cross stitching as well, but I did notice that most of the projects that I stumbled upon that were partially finished were these specialty stitches. And some, looks like some Krynic there. I did find Krynic. I have it in another bin. So we've got some haul to go through over the next couple of videos. I hope you will stick around and come back for that. And I just thought I'd show you how beautiful this is, the time and love and dedication that went into that piece. So I'd like to find a little home for it. And without further ado, let's head on into the fabric stash. This drawer is brimming. I wonder if I could pull it out and show you. Oh yeah, that was easier than I thought it was gonna be. This is the drawer of fabric. And let's just take a little peek. A lot of Adas. And my mom and I went through this together because my dad, of course, got it for us together because my mom cross stitches. She's a great cross stitcher. And so my mom, we gave her everything that was 14 count. And then I took anything that was a higher count or dark. My mom doesn't, it's harder for her to stitch on dark. So I have an 18 count blue and then a 22 count. It says Hardinger. Am I pronouncing that correctly? And then of course another one, 2 of those in 22 count. So a couple of tubes of this. Where shall we put this? Just set it there. It's gonna get crazy fast. 14 count Aida in navy blue. I don't mind being an Aida girl. So Aida doesn't deter me. I don't look at it and think, oh, I better advance. I better advance. Obviously, there's a suppleness with other fabrics, and there is a challenge and enjoyable and a piece, and you can stitch other ways. You know, people that stitch in hand. And so I love that there's a wide range of fabrics, and I'm really loving some of the other counts that I'm getting to stitch on, of course, other fabrics. But the reason why I still have a fondness for Aida is because 2 reasons. It's very easy to stitch on when I need just an easy stitch just to bring me happiness and comfort. This is a great go-to. The other reason is because all of the projects that my mom did when I was younger in the 90s and early 2000s are on Aida. She was a 14 count Aida girl. And so those pieces to me are just lovely and cherished. And so there's something comforting about 14 count Aida, if that makes sense. Sort of like, you know, mama's cooking or a recipe that mother would have made, and it reminds you of that's what it's supposed to taste like. When I see 14 count Aida, I say that's cross stitch, and it brings me a lot of happiness. So okay, so let's see here. We've got more just pieces. These are all, 2 of these are Aidas. This is an even weave in this lovely navy. So I'm gonna find some nice projects for these. And more perforated paper. Whoops, we're gonna have some clatter. I'm setting everything on a chair. Perforated paper. This is an 18 count. Pretty little blue. That'd be really pretty for spring or maybe Christmas. I love that. And some linen. This one is actually a kit. There's the linen. I don't yet know the thread. I'll have to poke through to find the thread count. Lovely, lovely. Oh, it's called Beach Walk. I can see it. Let's take a closer peek. Beach Walk 32 count linen. I don't know the designer, but that's pretty. And this is the, I'll show you the pattern. I'll show you the pattern that it goes to. Look at that, it even has threads. I think she must have, either she kitted this up or she was starting to kit this up. Beautiful. And I'll put this kit back together because I want this to stay whole. But here's the pattern. A Year of Flowers. Isn't that sweet? This is definitely one that I want to do at some point. It's really cute there as a pillow too. October. Do you think it has daffodils? I sure hope so. I see irises. I love flowers. I just love flowers. Okay, this little guy is looking a little sad, but we have this one. The poster child of 18 count Fiddler's Cloth. Pretty nice texture. I've used Fiddler's Cloth that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I didn't really love it because it was so flimsy. It just felt like it was always falling apart on me. But I did notice that the Fiddler's Cloth that I'm doing that little kitchen-y pie one on is more stiff and more stable, and this has that texture. So good job, Regency and Charles Craft. Here's a pattern. Home of a Needleworker. That's gonna happen. Cute as can be. Little House Needleworks. Love it. Oh, it's got a little wreath on the door and that little bird. I love me a blackbird, and I like how the alphabet changes colors. There must either be some color changes or maybe a specialty floss in there. Excited to poke through there and investigate. We've got a Zweigart. Of course, these are open and such, and I'm great with that. There's a Zweigart. More of that, more even weave. Oh, this has cross stitch on it. Precious. Look at this. And it even has her needle. I didn't even realize that had stitching on it. Let's take a closer look. That's lovely. And you see some of those specialty stitches. So this is a specialty stitch piece because like that first one that I showed you, it has these, I don't know what they're called, so I won't even try, but it has these pretty little starburst things. And you can see those squares, and I know that a number of you have taken specialty stitch classes at the Jingle Ball or other places or different meetups. Have you done any of those stitches? Do you know the names of them? That's really sweet. So it's partially finished. There's her needle. It's very, very sweet. I'll have to think about what to do with that. And more 28 count even weave. This looks like the one that starts with an O. Omniberg. Omniberg, that's it. I think that's the name. Whew. 6 months in and I can't remember things like Omniberg. Is it Osnaburg? It's Osnaburg. Huge, huge yard of Lugana in the color Mushroom. Fantastic. Wow. Love it. More Ada. Looks like an 18 count in white and a couple more. And this one. That's the end. I tried to use this one. I think this one's a linen. Yeah, it's a 28 count linen. I was going to use this one for one of the whips that I had just started, but it was very see-through. And it mattered that the linen was a little more transparent, as you can see. And if that affects the project, that doesn't really matter because it's going to get framed, or maybe you put some backing on it. I'm not sure. So I was hesitant about using it, but I guess it would make a cute small or a little sampler of some kind. So if you have any advice on that type of fabric, I'm kind of showing you that it's a little on the more transparent side. And again, that's Charles Craft, but a lovely piece and a lovely color. So it's definitely going to get used. And that is just the start, my friends. That is just the start. I'm going to refill this bin in a minute of the fabric haul, the estate sale haul, because I have another drawer that's twice as big as that is chock full of stuff. Maybe that will come out in my next video because I don't want to bog you down with too much haul. And I've been in a little bit of a no buy / low buy in hopes of stitching what I have. Obviously I don't have a massive amount of stuff, but I have enough. I have patterns, I have fabrics, I have floss, I have Q-snaps, and I have hoops, and I really have what I need right now to stitch what I've got. But now I'm trying to stitch a little of things that I have, make a little progress, get some things done, or start some patterns because I have more books. I haven't even showed you all the cross stitch books that I have. I have this one as well, 2-hour cross stitch, which is full of adorable little patterns. I can show you this one as well sometime. So I'm calling it a low buy. I did buy the pattern and the floss for Jane Austen because I wanted that one to be really special. So that's the end of this video. Thank you for joining me. If you've made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. And feel free to drop a comment if you haven't. Never feel shy to leave a comment. I read them all. I enjoy them immensely. Any thoughts you have, what you're stitching on, what your stitching plans are, and if you would like to be stitching Jane with Stitch Jane 2025, I'd love to hear it in the chat as well. And I hope you have a wonderful March as you're stitching away, and I will see you again soon. Bye, everybody.